This stuff back. Okay, these intros are never perfect. Like I can never have like just one perfect intro where I sit down in front of an unobstructed chair and sort of in front of a perfectly angled camera and I'm able to say the lines correctly. Hello again, and thank you for tuning in. I'm your host Philly Dips, and today we are having welcome to another tale from the table. And today's topic of discussion, aside from well, it's a funny story. I'm putting together a new D&D group that I can DM because right now I'm just kind of playing as a player with this super cool custom character sheet. And I've been doing some thinking, some brainstorming, and I want to talk about non-combat encounters, which are kind of, to some people, they are the low point of a campaign. The non-combat encounters, they're the part that are that's kind of dull. In a way, it's like sort of the rest and recovery part of a given dungeon or adventure or quest or what have you. But I disagree with that for a number of reasons. If you ask me, I think that I share the view with Barker from Be a Better Game Master that a lot of the time a non-combat encounter is more important to the story of a game than a combat encounter. And this may sound a bit outlandish to some, but think about it. Non-combat encounters are kind of where the bulk of the story is developed in, say, Lord of the Rings, or Battlestar Galactica, or Star Trek. And when people think non-combat encounters, they tend to kind of assume the worst, like, a puzzle. And you have to meticulously figure out, the sort of lock device, and everyone kind of get either everyone is kind of hunched around watching this one guy solve this word puzzle, or everyone kind of just takes five, checks their texts, or gets in a drink, or refills the chips as one person is sort of trying to fill in this puzzle of decipher the runes, or translate the language, or figure out the password, or even worse off, like it's ended up just being like a thing of, okay, you might be able to speak this language, roll an intelligence check, and everyone goes back and forth trying to decipher it until someone rolls it and you guys can go through the door. And non-combat encounters can be so much more than that, because the reality is, even when you're not in a dungeon, like in a relatively dangerous setting, that is when there are the most non-combat encounters, and it can be a social encounter. It can be like bartering, and I don't want to say buying equipment, but haggling, or maybe perhaps trying to set up defenses from an oncoming raid. That could be considered a non-combat encounter. Trying to set up defenses. And I'll get back to that. But first thing first, I want to talk about skill challenges. Now, skill challenges are a skill challenge is a non-combat D&D encounter in which, that was introduced in D&D 4th edition. 4th edition, for all of its flaws, had a very good Dungeon Master's Guide compared to some, or so I hear. I've not read any. I've read the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide, but I think the 4th edition one was better, and I hear that it's very good because it not only does it speak very thoroughly about tricks and tips and tricks and guidelines and rules, but it also introduces a lot of new mechanics. It has this sort of point-buy system of experience points, and you calculate how much experience you get for your party based on their level and how many of them there are, and their class and their paragon paths, and you get like a number of experience points that you can spend just to buy monsters. So you could have 8,000 experience points for these 3 encounters, and you can sort of spend it on traps or hazards or monsters or various other things. But along with that, it also introduces this very novel idea called a skill challenge. And basically, a skill challenge, if you've not heard of one, I don't know if it's in 4th edition, or 5th edition rather. I don't think it is, but the skill challenge is basically it's some sort of encounter or some sort of like a task that can only be solved using the skills in your character sheet. For example, in 4th edition, say maybe you were being chased through a town by or you're chasing down a thief in a town, and you'd have to use acrobatics, to leap over walls and stuff, athletics, to run faster than anybody else in the crowd. Maybe streetwise to so that you have a better grasp of the town. And, maybe you'll cut them off on King Street and that kind of thing. And perception to maybe see a hiding spot where it might be, or just catch his tunic kind of flying in the wind as he runs, things like that. And there are so many applications for this. Like in the past I've run skill encounters to repair the engine of an airship. I've to row a boat, like a makeshift boat across a strait of ocean. I've had skill challenges to escape quicksand, to get to match arcane ruins to open a door. There are many opportunities, and it also extends to social challenges. Perhaps trying to persuade some important lord, or maybe not a lord, maybe like a duke or a count, to give you access to the National Archives, or to allow you to use the Manning garrison. And you have to use diplomacy and bluff to sort of over exaggerate your plans and intimidate maybe if you can really pull it. Perhaps a history check that sort of so you can sort of show your knowledge of how this works well in the past. Skill challenges are a phenomenal way to sort of basically if you have a party of power gamers, which happens a lot. Power gamers, of course, players who are kind of there to use it to stab and loot and then keep going. If you want to sort of ease them into more non-combat encounters, a skill challenge is a great way to start. And it doesn't take much work either to put one together. And you win based on or you see based on if you get an amount of successes before you get half that many failures, you succeed. And it can be really tense. Like if you're this one guy needs to make one good athletics roll. And everyone's very tense, it's and then he rolls like a 20, and of course, everyone celebrates. So, skill challenges are a great way of doing it by the dice. But to be honest with you, as a DM myself, I like to. This is way too tight. I like to avoid using the character sheet for non-combat encounters for the most part. There are times in social challenges or things like that, or discussions that you'll definitely want to refer to the character sheet. But a lot of the time, I want to keep the energy up here, not down here, as you look at your paper. And some fantastic examples of that you can find online for free, like puzzles. I don't want to say Sudoku, but you can sort of find anagrams. Anagrams are a good one. Perhaps make some sort of crossword thing, or a word search, and obviously nothing stupid find don't cut something out of the Toronto Star and slap that in front of your players. Make it unique. In some puzzles, you can design yourself. With some you might not be able to. A fantastic example of one that I've used myself and my current DM has used is it's a message that's been coded in the characters of a dwarven font or an elven font or a draconic font. You can download these online for free, and I forget what the file type is, but yeah, you can put it into Google Docs or into Microsoft Word or Pages or whatever it may be for you, and you can type up this document, and then on the back you can have a key. You have to refer to the key to sort of translate it, and that's kind of like a simulation. Obviously that isn't how languages actually work. But you have sort of a key as to how to translate it, and you can slowly decipher the message. Maybe you can sort of jump to conclusions as you go, and you'll be like, oh, that's it, that's it there. And that's especially useful, I find, for decoding letters. It's always fun, if you've intercepted a letter from a sketchy guild that's heading to the Lord Mayor. And you may be able to uncover the biggest conspiracy this town's seen in ages. Or maybe it'd be sort of a timed thing. Maybe you're in a dungeon, you need to speak the correct password, and the password is the answer to a riddle, but the riddle is coded, but like the room is filling with water, and it's like you're kind of like treading water, and you gotta like kind of dive under the water to kind of like get a look at those last few runes, and then try to decode it amongst yourselves. There are so many ways you can take this basic format, and obviously nothing that I say in this video should be abused, overused, like or saturated to a point where it's just not really fun or unique anymore. It's just kind of a grind. But yeah, paper-based puzzles and word-based puzzles, do not shy away from those. Those are very, very good tools for a good non-combat encounter. And of course, maybe you want to sort of take it a step higher. Perhaps, well, if in the Big Bang Theory episode, where like the Christmas one where they play D&D, it calls upon their prior knowledge. I've never tried something like that, and I can't recommend it because if your players like in the episode, it's like the walls are closing in, and unless someone needs to recite the lyrics to a Christmas song, but it was very, very obscure Christmas song, and so you don't want to screw your players over because they don't know the lyrics to like a God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, or Nearer My God to Thee. So try to shy away from that. But in a similar vein, you don't need paper. Riddles are a fantastic way. It's it's a tale as old as time. If adventurers need to solve the riddle to enter the door, what bites but has no teeth, or well, that's obviously. I'm sure any players who play D&D will get that one in a second. I don't know. Be creative. I've never actually went with riddles, or coming up with riddles anyway. But there are bounties of this stuff online. Like I cannot stress, in today's day and age where D&D is slowly becoming more and more mainstream, there are incredible volumes, like oceans worth of stuff that you could just kind of nick and then tweak as you see fit, or just throw right in. I'm here to sort of direct you in what you should choose. You should not, of course, do that all the time, like some sort of grade 6 teacher who just like downloads PDFs of worksheets off of the internet and hands it out to you every day. But try to balance your own things with things you find on the internet, because the internet is a great tool. D&D Wiki, while questionable for building characters, it's a fantastic tool for DMs as well. And of course, we can also take this one step further with non-combat encounters into physical things, props, puzzle boxes. Hold on, I'll show you. I have this cool. Lock and key kind of setup, and it's a lock, but you put the key in, doesn't open. So problem solving issues like that, and you can like physical things, and players love that. Like if you bust out like a prop, or like or a handout, or like a map that you give them, or at least me anyway, I get overjoyed at those kinds of things, and I have respect for any DM who puts the effort into sort of take a letter, trace like runes on it, soak it in coffee, and then they crumple it up and make it look old and weathered. Or he goes out and like buys one of those like 2 rings, and you gotta get them unstuck, but it's like a maze, and you have to sort of follow the maze to get it out. One tip that I saw online, I don't remember where, but like if you give them like a puzzle like that, look at the intelligence stat of the highest level intelligence in your party. So that might be like 20, that might be like 12. And that's how many minutes you give them to work on it. And then once they're done, you take the thing away and you put it back in your own bag, and you say, okay, well, you still have it, but you're not working on it right now. You got more important stuff to do. And hey, maybe if they get it like right in a good amount of time, give them a reward. Maybe there's something inside the puzzle box as well as the note, that kind of thing. But don't obviously don't make something extremely difficult. And if they're really struggling with it, come up with some sort of bathroom window that they can jump out of. Well, not literally, but some sort of alternative solution for them so they can avoid doing this physical thing. And lastly, something that I regrettably have not employed enough, but I think that it's a fantastic way to get your players like actually like thinking about what they're doing instead of just rolling dice and reading numbers, like logic puzzles, like Legend of Zelda kinds of things. Like you got to like to take this ramp so you can pour water down the ramp into the hole and fill it up like just the right amount so that you can float something to like activate a pressure sensor. I don't know. That was a really poor example. That I was kind of ad libbing. But you know what I mean. Logic puzzles. Like there's a pressure plate in the middle of a room. One person stands on it, and then the door opens. Everyone else goes through. The other person steps off. Door shuts. How are you gonna solve it? Are you gonna leave someone behind and split up? Are you gonna maybe take some of the gear off your back and put it in? And if you want to get kind of really kind of sadistic, Jigsaw style, a glass in the middle of the room, and you have to fill it up with blood. And once you get it's like a certain volume of blood, the door will open. If you're running some sort of horror campaign, that's a fantastic idea. Like have stuff like this to make you make sort of moral judgments and make you really push like the limits of your body. Those can go on any scale from push boxes to make a ramp to sort of so like the most extreme kind of cruel things you can do. You can get very creative with these if you have the right imagination, and I imagine of course there are many things like this online as well. So in summary, non-combat encounters are good. They can add a lot to any dungeon because dungeons can be made even better if they aren't just mowing down monsters and looting their stuff, and you actually have to stop and think a little bit. And no matter what kind of players you have sitting on your table or what kind of campaign you're playing, non-combat encounters will always find a role, whether it's a social encounter or a logic puzzle or a physical prop or a paper prop or a riddle or anything else along those lines that I may have forgotten to mention. So, other than that, I invite you to come up with some of your own and put some into your next session. Other than that, though, I bid you goodbye because it's very cold and I kind of want to take a shower.